we're going to talk about standing up straight, something that people kind of don't do. So the first thing I want you to do is find a wall and stand back against the wall. Now my feet are out just a little bit from the wall. If I get my feet right to the wall, it's going to start pushing me forward. So I want my feet out just a little bit from the wall. Okay, now my feet should be directly down from my hip sockets. You can see that they're a little bit wider, right now. So I'm going to bring them in. I don't bring them in here because that's out of alignment. That's pushing in too much, right? I want them directly down. That's anatomically sound, right? Okay, think of an engineer. And then we like to kind of fan our feet out. We're going to put them parallel to each other, right? Even though that might feel unnatural. You want to put them parallel. They should be parallel. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the four corners of my feet. So think of the front, the back, and the two sides. Think of your foot as like a box. We typically throw a lot of weight in the heels, and then we let the legs, the feet collapse in, right? So what I want you to do is push some weight to the outside edges of your feet and a little bit onto the balls of the feet, okay? So when I let my feet collapse, the arch disappears, right? So look down at your feet, let them float in, and then roll them out, and then float them in, and roll them out. So when they collapse in like that, couple things, that the arch flattens out, the arch recreates. The ankle is collapsed, the ankle is correct. Now your knee should be directly over your feet. A lot of times they want to roll in. So when I put weight on the outside of my feet, it's hard for those knees to knock in, all right? That has to do with your quad angle, right? So here's your quads. So if I were to draw a line straight up one leg, whoop, and then take another line from my hip and where they intersect, right down to like above my knee, that is my quad angle. The bigger my pelvic girdle, the bigger that quad angle becomes, right? When the quad angle gets bigger, it thrusts the knees in towards each other. You need glutes, in particular glute medius, to straighten that out. So if you clench your butt, if you clench your butt cheeks, you'll feel your knees straighten out. So weight onto the outside of the foot, a little bit on the balls of the feet. You squeeze the butt cheeks. Also, you don't lock the knees back. Locking the knees back, you'll feel a little pressure on that kneecap. A little pressure, 30, 40 years, guess what? Knee replacement. So soften those knees and squeeze the glutes. So you're almost trying to rotate your knees out. So think of it as an external rotation of the hip, which is what it is, right? So you're going to squeeze the glutes, feel the knees come out. It's almost like you're trying to make yourself a little bow-legged, right? Try to pretend you're a cowboy with bow legs. Weight on the outside of the feet, knees over the ankles, right? So just a little bit bow-legged. Now another thing we do is we take the pelvic girdle, which should be neutral. Think of it as a bucket of water. And we tip it forward or we tip it back, right? So when we tip it forward, the water spills out of the front of the bucket. When you tip it back, the water spills out of the back of the bucket. So here's what goes on. So if I tip it forward and my butt comes out, I get this really big curve in my back, right? That puts pressure on the lower back. The pelvis is tipped forward, there's pressure on my lower back, but my butt's sticking out. So a lot of people do that just because they like their butts sticking out. The other thing is you can tuck it under, and back to cowboys, I call that like cowboy butt, right? But now I'm gonna have another set of problems from my pelvis being out of alignment. So when I squeeze my glutes and brace my abs, it neutralizes my pelvis. So I squeeze my glutes and brace my abs. So I've got feet, knees, and pelvic girdle, right? Then I'm gonna lift my sternum. I'm going to think of a cord lifting me up tall through the top of the head. I'm going to tuck my chin in, all right? That's standing up straight. Okay, so back to the wall thing. So I'm going to stand up straight. I'm going to lean back against the wall. How many parts of my body are touching the wall, right? So legs, no, because we're leaning back a little bit. So I can feel my glutes on the wall. There's a little dip in my lower back. My shoulders are against the wall. My head is probably not. Now, a lot of us get forward head syndrome. Your head should be directly over your body. So the first thing I want you to do is take your head back to the wall. Now, if you had to lift your chin to do that, you probably have forward head syndrome. And what's happened is you've shortened these muscles so the head doesn't go back anymore, right? You've overstretched these and you stretched those. You want those, your ears should be over your shoulders, right? So if you had to tip your head up, your chin up, then you probably had that going on. So what you're going to do, regardless of where your chin went, you're going to go, yes, 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 and then stay in that down where that neck is long. Okay, now are your shoulder blades on the wall but not your shoulders? Okay, take your shoulders back to the wall. Roll your palms up. Can you do that, right? Here's a nice exercise. This is for the shoulders. Okay, so I'm going to try to go all the way up and touch my fingers, just a little bit out of frame, right? I'm touching my fingers. Come back down. So what if I can't go all the way up? If I can only go to here, I can go to here. If I can go to here on one side, but the other arm comes all the way up, I still am going to stop where that other arm is for symmetry. Now, at some point, yes, I want to continue to practice that so I can do it going forward into the future. I don't want to lose that. But I'm going to start by just trying to keep them even. Or maybe I have to bend my arms a little bit. That's okay too, right? And then eventually, you get better and better at it. So your shoulders should be touching the wall. Your head, the top of your back. I should feel it going down into my middle back. And then I'm going to lose contact in that lower back because there is that little bit of a natural curve back there. But you don't want a big curve. I'm fused there, so you can't really see that too good. But you don't want this big, huge curve. The other thing is your belly kind of comes out and down when you do that, right? So yeah, you're sticking your butt out, but your belly's flopping down, right? So you really want that to be all neutral with those abs braced. So I'm going to check and see how much. I'm going to try to press my lower back into the wall, press my lower back into the wall, and press my lower back into the wall. Notice my knees come forward a little bit. So I'm also going to rotate my knees out. Rotate my knees out, rotate my knees out. Right? And that's basically standing up straight. How many body parts can you get against that wall? If all you've got is your shoulder blades and your butt, you probably are walking around like this, right? You don't want to do that. The middle back is the part of the back that has the least movement in it, right? So we can get a lot of movement through that lower back, right? We get a lot of movement through that lower back. We get a lot of movement through our neck. But we just don't really have that in that middle back. If you try to isolate, not move your hips, it's just not as much there, right? Even in a Cirque du Soleil athlete, it's not as much. But when it does go out of alignment, what it tends to like to do is round from the back. So there's some people that round from the back, there's some people that round from the shoulders, and a lot of us do both. And then we carry it into the neck. So the neck comes forward, and then we look up so we can see. So we actually put two crooks in the neck. So if you take your hand to the back of your neck and find that knob, right, that we all have, if you go just above that to the next vertebrae, it should be a little bit forward of that. It should be like a little bit forward of it, but it shouldn't be like way forward of it. Then you're going to start having problems with things like your arms, right? Because the brachial plexus, the nerves that go down into your arms come through that neck. And then you start getting weird tingly sensations. If your hands roll in, it's tight chest. And then if they get all dangly and floppy and stuff, you're cutting off the nerves to them, right? You'll feel it in the fingertips first. So that's all coming from the neck. So make sure that neck goes back. Make sure those shoulders go back. Press that lower back in. Soften the knees. Rotate them out. And check the balance on the feet. And you'll be standing up straight in no time.